In this video, there's my $10 repair versus the $50 piece I had on there before. I don't mind saying names. This was a Burley Pro. As you can see what happened, I think it just wore thin enough and it just cracked off, whether I hit something or I'm not sure exactly how it happened. But I mean, you can see the difference on how much more Kydex I have on the boat doing it myself versus, you know, buying a $50 piece of pre-made plastic. It's Kydex. You know, sure, it's got a nice clean finish. The edges are all smooth and all that, and you can see the glue joints. You know, a lot of it was made, a lot of it wasn't. You know, it didn't sit perfect on the keel, but you know, it did last 2 years. Not even 2 years, a year and a half. So there's my finished product right there. Not a thing of beauty. Glad I'm not getting graded on it, but there it is. So I've speeded up this video. So right here you can see where the old Barley Pro was and how much of it actually broke off. This is my template. That's one sheet of the Kydex. It's a 12 by 12, so I'm going long. So instead of cutting strips, I'm just gonna go from corner to corner. I decided to go big on this. I thought about putting a strip down, a secondary strip down the middle, but I opted not to do that. So here I am, I'm just drawing out my template. You know, it's just a kind of a random design. I knew I wanted to have it narrow in the middle where the bend was. That kind of worked for the most part, and you'll see when I start forming it onto the keel how that worked. I might have picked a different design, having done this once already, but this one worked, and you'll see at the end how well it actually fit. So now I'm just going to tape it onto the Kydex. I used some tin snips. What worked best was just using the tips. Trying to do a full cut with it was a little difficult, so just using the tips. Here I am, I'm just sanding it, you know, and I'll come back and I'll sand later. I'll draw in the finished product so I know where I want to sand on the keel. Just rounding the edges after the cut here. So now I'm going to start forming it. That's just a heat gun. You can get those at Harbor Freight. They're pretty cheap. I've had this one for a while. Those gloves are Camp Chefs. They're barbecue gloves. I was using them for pouring lead, but in this case they worked really well. I have seen other videos where people complain about how hot it actually gets. Part of the issue is, you know, I'm throwing heat right where I have my hand in to keep the form, because basically what you have to do is let it cool in the final shape that you want. And so holding it with a good protective glove works. If you have welding gloves, those work. I tried masking tape to hold it down. That didn't work. I went with some Gorilla tape. This stuff is sticky. It's really good tape. It's just you know, I think a 3/4 inch, like a duct tape. It's Gorilla tape, and that worked pretty well to hold it in place while I'm forming it. It got a little warm, but not so hot that, you know, it was so uncomfortable I couldn't hold it. I would recommend good gloves, or double up on your gloves. Maybe a liner inside some leather work gloves, but these gloves work pretty good. They're about $24 retail in a store. So what I basically do is just tape up both ends, and then do the middle last. Seem to work best. I'm just going to let the whole thing play out so you can see how I formed the whole thing, instead of just cutting a scene and saying, oh, and this is how I did it. You know, here you get to see just how the whole thing went. More forming, heating and forming. It doesn't take long when you hold a heat gun on it. It's actually pretty quick. And this is 080 thickness for the Kydex. I'll put a picture in here of the actual product I ordered on Amazon. I'll put that right in here. So just more heating and forming, taping down. And then when I'm pretty happy of how it's shaped to the keel, after I take it off, you know, it's not all completely contoured to the keel. So I took it off and just free-handed heating the edges where it was kind of like bubbled out a little bit, and formed it in. So here I am doing the middle. So I'm just holding it as it cools. And you can see how it held the shape. So this is my first time doing my own Kydex. I might have gone a little smaller. Going big wasn't, you know, that huge of an issue, but you know, it certainly was some more work. But with all the glue surface area, I'm pretty confident that it's going to take a lot for this to wear through, break off like that Burley Pro did. These are $10 a sheet. It was $31 for the 3 sheets. More heating, more forming. All in all, I'm pretty happy how the whole thing turned out. Now what I did glue it down with was a 2-part epoxy. Next time I might check out that marine goop. So here I am taking off the tape. Now there was some tape residue left, and so you'll see me just using the tape itself just to pull off the residue that was left behind. So here I am just heating it up in places just to give it a nice firmer fit, you know, squeezing it and giving it a nice, so it's has a nice tight fit. So I'm pretty happy with it. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw in the shape of the final, and then I'm going to sand just inside the line with a orbital DA. And then I'm just going to clean it with some isopropyl alcohol. I'm sanding the inside of my Kydex. Isopropyl alcohol, clean the whole thing. It dries pretty fast. I use it as a cleaner. Been using it as a cleaner for a long time. So now this is a 2-part epoxy. It was real tough getting it out of the tube. That's why next time I might do a marine goop or something. But and this stuff dries really hard. Putting a glove on, smeared around a little bit. It did go on pretty thick. So now I'm just going to tape it in place with my Gorilla Tape. And it did push out in a couple places underneath the tape and stuff. And after it was cured, I let it cure 24 hours. I just went back, cleaned it up, you know, broke off some of the big chunks that were sticking out. Here I am just trying to clean up what smushed out. And all right, so it's been about 24 hours. These are the test pieces they did. Yeah. Pretty rock hard. There's some that squished out underneath the tape. I'll probably just dress that up. But all in all, I mean, yeah, that is not going anywhere. Yeah, I got a little sloppy right there, but I could probably dress that out. But I think for $50 versus what I was able to do here for a lot less than that. I think it was $30, probably like 10 bucks a sheet for the Kydex, and just some man hours, you know. I'm gonna live with it.